I'll hand over to him. I'll hand over to him now to start the program. Can you take the floor?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ifi. Thank you so very kindly for another wonderful opportunity. Hello, beautiful people. Joy is mine to welcome everybody. I trust that we're all doing well. We'll welcome you to the April edition of FACEYOUth Mental Awareness Event. Hallelujah. Welcome, everybody. We trust you're doing good. Let us know where you are streaming from. We urge you to participate in the form of liking, sharing, and dropping a comment. Also, let me remind you to have your writing materials, okay? If you're technologically savvy, I encourage you as well to have your devices, take notes, because like I always say, information that is not retrievable is not usable. There's no such thing as making a mental note. If you don't have it, jotted down, you won't be able to extract it for use in the future. So I encourage you to have notes available, have your writing materials, have your devices. Like our host tonight already said, I'm going to be piloting this ship for today. I'm going to be the captain. And my job is really very simple. I'm just going to be standing in and for Dr. Trudy, who is not available at the moment for some unforeseen circumstances. All right, I believe that we can get into the nitty-gritty of the event for tonight. We can just get on with it without further ado. I didn't prepare any icebreakers, and I just had in my spirit. God just said to me, you can break the ice with a word of prayer. If you don't mind, even if you're Muslim, whatever you believe in, Buddha or anything, whatever, please indulge me as we say a word of prayer tonight. Let's just pray. Father, in Jesus' name, we bring you an offering of gratitude. We thank you for your grace. We thank you for your loving kindness. We appreciate you for this congregation of champions. We thank you, Heavenly Father, because we know that you are here with us to do us good tonight. We thank you for wisdom as we deliberate and share concerning our well-being and our welfare tonight, Heavenly Father. Thank you because we know that the Holy Spirit is brooding over this meeting tonight. The Bible says that where the Lord is, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Lord, I receive liberty on behalf of everyone that is tuning in tonight, liberty to be delivered from any and everything that represents the curse, any and everything that represents mental health issues. Lord, we thank you for wisdom on our speakers tonight. Lord, give them the tongue of the learned, that they might know how to speak a word in due season to them that are weary. Be glorified, our Father. Thank you. Take preeminence and let your name alone be magnified. Thank you, everlasting Father, once again. We cannot appreciate you enough for this gathering. Be glorified in Jesus' name. Amen. Hallelujah. I believe that is ice-breaking enough for everybody.
Amen.
Without wasting time, I'm going to be calling back our host for tonight. I believe in keeping to time, and it's exactly 4:15 here in South Africa. I don't know. I think it's 3:15 over there in the United Kingdom. I'm going to be calling back our host for today, the founder of FACEYOUth Global, Ifunanya Anyebu. Please take it away. God bless you real good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hello, Chiku Henry. We really appreciate you joining us and taking over this anchoring on short notice. Thank you so much. It shows how much people give to FACEYOUth and how committed we are all to growing this community. Thank you, everyone, once more for joining. We don't take your support for granted. We really appreciate you all. We understand that it's a busy bank holiday weekend, but you took time out of your busy schedule to join us just for these 2 hours, and we really appreciate you. We also say welcome to everyone at the center. We love and appreciate you all for the commitment you showed towards FACEYOUth. As mentioned, I'm the founder and convener for the Foundation for Advancement of Child Education and Youth Empowerment. You all know what we're about, so I'm not going to waste much time. I would just mention a few initiatives that we've launched, and then we'll play the About FACEYOUth video so that anyone joining us for the first time would also learn about what we do, who we are, and what we do. Williams, are you ready with the video? Would you be able to set it up while I'm talking? Yeah. So you already know we have 3 major programs at FACEYOUth. Poverty alleviation, because we believe in the well-being of children. You can't learn without when you're living in poverty. That's what we've learned over the course of our activities, community activities. Then we have quality education, promoting quality education for disadvantaged children. And we have youth empowerment. Then under poverty alleviation, we launched the Mission Love Street Food Bank Initiative, which is now going to be a monthly initiative because we believe that hunger is not seasonal. We just finished the first monthly outreach for April, and it was a success. We'll share videos after this event. And then we have the quality education. We launched our scholarship program and back to school. So one thing we are yet to launch and we're working on is the radio school project, where we want to take the school to the communities. We want to partner with national radio services to take the school, like lessons, to communities that don't have school and those affected by insurgency in Africa. We have finally youth empowerment. We have the entrepreneurship program, and then the health and well-being, which what we're doing today falls under, right? So I'll leave you guys to listen to the video, the short video, and learn about FACEYOUth. Thank you so much once more for joining. And thank you and welcome to our amazing anchor. It's going to be a great day. You guys don't want to miss any part of it. It's even good that you join live so you have the opportunity to ask your questions. There will be replay, of course. I know a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to join because I'll watch the replays later, but we encourage people to join live so that they can interact, because we make it as interactive as possible, and then be able to ask questions, and get first-hand answers from professionals. So thank you so much, Kelly Sims, for joining us, and thank you, Dr. Uguamaka Chukwu, for joining as well. And we look forward to, we're excited already. I'm pumped and excited, and I believe everybody is. Okay, so listen to our short video and yeah. The Foundation for Advancement of Child Education and Youth Empowerment, FACEYOUth, is a grassroots-inspired charitable organization with vested interest in alleviating poverty, promotion and support of quality education for the disadvantaged child, as well as promotion and provision of vocational and skills acquisition programs for the empowerment of youth. We believe that education and youth empowerment are potentially significant in contributing to the growth of every community. And it is this belief that inspired us to start a FACEYOUth to bridge the gap in educational opportunities between school children in rural communities and more developed communities by sponsoring as many underprivileged students as possible, by increasing youth representation and involvement in the decision-making process, by promoting and developing entrepreneurial spirit among youth, because we believe that entrepreneurship is one of the pathways to ending poverty. by disseminating relevant information about issues concerning youth written by youth. 3,500 families are beneficiaries of our Street Food Bank initiative, Mission Love. 250 children are beneficiaries of FACEYOUTH scholarship scheme in Nigeria and Malawi, and over 500 children have benefited from the Back to School project between 2017 till date, where educational materials were distributed to 5 different schools in Nigeria. FACEYOUTH have also renovated and established 2 library projects at public/government primary schools in eastern Nigeria. Over 80 young entrepreneurs have been given seed funding to support their business from 2018 till date. Entrepreneurship and mentorship seminars are being organized by FACEYOUTH to empower young people, both physical in Enugu and virtual via Zoom. We believe that mental health needs unashamed conversation. Stigma and lack of understanding are 2 barriers that keep people, especially those from Africa and other ethnic minority communities, from seeking help regarding their mental health issues. It is in light of this that we launched the monthly Mental Health Awareness and Stigma Reduction Initiative for young people to tackle mental health issues in young people, especially from its onset. Our big project right now is the Eastern Food Bank, which was born out of our seasonal Mission Love initiative, because we believe hunger is not seasonal. And another big project is our radio school project to take quality education to remote places with radio network in Africa. Like every charity, our greatest need is financial. If you would like to support us, please, all we ask is for you to make a commitment of 1,000 Naira monthly or $2 monthly. We understand that the economy is not stable at the moment. We all need a little extra support. But we believe that these little amounts can help us give children in rural communities quality education they deserve and also help alleviate poverty. We promise to keep you up to date on our activities and how we are spending whatever donations or grants we get. If you can spare anything at all, it will be greatly appreciated. If you also like to partner with us or know somebody that would like to collaborate or partner with us, please initiate the introduction. You can contact us via our email info@faceyouth.org or go to our website www.faceyouth.org/get-involved. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. I'll hand over to Elo to introduce the first speaker for tonight, Dr. Ugwamaka. Could you read her profile before she comes on? I think he's
All right.
He's lost connectivity, so I'm gonna.
All right. Yeah. My internet connection is a bit. My internet connection is something else. But you can't hear me.
I can hear you. We can hear you.
Hear me?
Yeah, you are fine. We can hear you now. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay.
We can hear you.
My apologies. This was short notice. I'm working on my internet. I'm working on fiber, and the internet is something else. But you know, the work has to continue. Thank you so much for that clip. We appreciate FACEYOUTH for all the marvelous work that they are doing globally, and we personally, I vouch to continue to support FACEYOUTH in everything that they do. They are really touching lives and making an impact. That's what is very important. I will just proceed to introduce our first guest for tonight. Of course, we know that we have a couple of seasoned speakers for tonight, as well as a songstress with us tonight. So today, rather, we're going to be introducing Dr. Chukwu Uguamaka Vienna. I'm not sure if that's part of the name or she's in Vienna, okay? She's a psychiatrist in Enugu State, Nigeria. She has 3 years of clinical and academic practice in psychiatry and clinical psychology. Her primary focus is on substance abuse prevention and treatment of psychiatry and general mental health awareness advocacy. She is currently working as a senior resident doctor in the Department of Psychological Medicine in the University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital, Enugu State. She has a Doctor of Medicine degree from Crimea State Medical University, Russia. She also runs a mental health overall well-being Instagram page, Are You Who You Are? Please join me with joy as we welcome our guest speaker, Dr. Chukwu Vienna. God bless you real good. Take it away, doctor.
Hello.
Over to you, doctor.
Okay, sorry, a few minutes. So who is going to be projecting my slides? Can I have the slides, please?
Yes, Doc. He's working on. He's opening it. Yeah.
Okay. Can everyone see me?
Yes, we can see your beautiful face. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
We see your beautiful face.
Thank you.
Yeah. Please open up slides. I guess the screen is frozen.
Okay.
Are we good over there?
Aleka, can you open it from your end? Yeah, I think his screen is frozen. Yeah.
Are we good?
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's it. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about sleep disorders, and I'm going to use this outline. Now, before I start, the problem with this particular group of disorders is that it can be a bit technical. I mean, there's almost no way to talk about them without talking about the technicalities of sleep. So I'll still try to explain them in as many, what will I say, layman's terms as I can. That's what I'll try and do, so that it won't be too medical. So I'll use this outline. I'll need to talk about the introduction, the functions, the stages, the sleep requirements by age, sleep measures, and then classification of some sleep disorders. And there's some specific sleep disorders before we round up. Right, so by introduction, sleep is a state of unconsciousness where by the brain is relatively more responsive to internal than external stimuli. So I explained that here when I said it means that the brain is responding to more what's happening on the inside of the body and what's happening outside on the environment. Next slide, please. Now, the functions of sleep. Sleep is very important to any individual. I mean, anyone who has gone long hours without sleep would know this. So it helps with our physical and psychological restoration. So after a long day at work, sleep, you feel better physically, and not just physically, psychologically. So even for mental well-being as well. Energy conservation, memory consolidation, which is why sometimes, people are advised that when you're preparing for an exam, try not to do TDBT or the next one and walk into the exam hall. You remember more if you at least get some sleep before the exam. And emotional regulation. I mean, someone who is sleep deprived, you don't want to be at the person's mercy, because sometimes that can lead to, aggressive or anger outbursts. And for brain growth, so even for cell regeneration in the brain. So the more sleep a person gets, the more what developed the brain can be. The types of sleep. So there's NREM and REM, even though I explained it in the next slide, but this NREM stands for non-rapid eye movement sleep, and REM is rapid eye movement sleep. So the non-rapid eye movement sleep is usually the first part that comes in, and there are 3 stages to that non-rapid eye movement sleep. So this is usually where the physiological functions become lower than one person is awake. So physiological functions include everything from breathing, your heart rate, all that. These things tend to lower, like especially brain function. So the brain activity also, the brain has less activity during this non-rapid eye movement sleep. Now in the rapid eye movement sleep, this is usually where the brain activity now becomes higher, but physiological and the physiological activity also becomes similar to when you're awake. But one common thing that happens here as well is that, especially the muscles, for example, the muscles are paralyzed during this stage of sleep. And the reason is because, this is usually the time when people have, most times have dreams. And while the muscles are paralyzed, so they can prevent us from acting out our dreams. So next slide, please. So I have already talked about this. Next slide. So now these are the 4 stages of sleep. So I put it in like a pictorial form. So every night when we go to sleep, we go through what's called the sleep cycle. So you're going to cycle from non-REM stage 1, 2, 3 into REM sleep, and then we do that back again. We're going to complete about a couple of cycles before the next morning, before you wake up. So in an 8-hour duration, for example, maybe you're going to have about 4 to 6 cycles of that. So there are different things written under here. What happens in the first stage of the non-rapid eye movements, which is really transitioning from being awake to being asleep. Then in the stage 2, there's reduction in body temperature, heart rates, and brain activity. But we've talked about this, like I said earlier before. And then, of course, in rapid eye movements, that's what I talked about, increase in brain activity and the reduction or decrease in muscle tone. Next, please. So this is about sleep. Well, instead of saying requirements, I think it's better to say sleep recommendations. So even though, yes, this is required, but this is basically the recommended amount of sleep people should get depending on the age. So, in newborns are supposed to get about 12 to 18 hours. Infants, which is, I think the months are written also in the bar the bar chart put there. So about during the from 3 to 11 months, to sleep for about 14 to 15 hours. And as you can see, the amount of time or the duration of sleep recommended will keep reducing as we get older, up until when we become adults, where we need about 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Now, why I emphasize on the fact that these are recommendations, not everybody would fall always within that. Some people need less or even more hours of sleep to function. So basically, how you know if you are having enough sleep or adequate sleep is, do you feel refreshed from however many hours of sleep you need? So some people function with, some people can function with about 5 hours of sleep a day, while some people need up to the 8 or even 9 hours of sleep to feel refreshed a day. So next slide, please. Now, this classification of sleep disorders. Now, the problem with this classification sometimes is that it can be a bit technical. There are 2 major bodies that we use to classify disorders in mental health. There's DSM, which is Diagnostic Statistical Manual, which is from the United States. And then there's the ICD, which is the International Classification of Diseases, and that's from the UK. So, but instead of being that technical with the classification, I preferred this picture, which I saw on the internet, which basically divides sleep into, you see some of the major groups like insomnia, things like circadian rhythm sleep with disorders, which is again another technical term, but basically what it means is that in these particular disorders, they have to do with disruption in the body's time biology. So there are examples given there, like even jet lag is one of those ones, under that circadian rhythm sleep disorder. So, but for the sake of this presentation, since I'm not just presenting to only doctors, I want to make it as global as possible. We can look at this, but basically they are still just a major group of sleep disorders that are common, and those are the ones that we're going to take as we go on. So please, next slide. So the first one we're going to talk about is insomnia. This is pretty much the most common, at least the most well-known sleep disorder out there, which can be defined rather as difficulty falling asleep, maintaining sleep, or poor quality of sleep. In brackets, what is unrefreshed, due to what I talked about before. As long as you wake up, this person has slept and the person wakes up feeling unrefreshed, like they haven't had enough sleep. So this can be defined as insomnia. In this case, this particular requirement said the sleep is disturbed for at least 3 days per week for at least 1 month. This is the requirement by the ICD, that's for the British body. The DSM, however, requires that the person to not have had adequate sleep for 3 days per week for at least 3 months. So in the US, the person has to have had that problem for 3 months before they can term it insomnia. But the UK says 1 month, and that's understandable because, not having enough sleep is quite problematic. If the person has to wait for 3 months before a particular diagnosis is made, it might be very troubling to the person. So most times, especially for here in Nigeria, we use this particular requirement. So the person has to have disturbed sleep for at least 3 days per week for at least 1 month. The person also will have a preoccupation with lack of sleep and excessive concerns like during the day and night, and also concerned a lot about the consequences of not having enough sleep. Sleep disturbances should also cause a marked personal distress or would also interfere in the person's social and occupational function. So these are usually the requirements needed to meet for a diagnosis of insomnia to be made. So now the causes, I put them in a pictorial form instead of being technical with them. So if a person has poor sleep habits, stress, the person is on certain medications, the person has a heavy meal, like taking heavy meals before bed, taking caffeinated things or even any kind of stimulating agent like nicotine, alcohol, and even travel, or work-related, or the person's work schedule can cause insomnia. Next slide, please. The management is usually divided into pharmacological or non-pharmacological, which basically means you either use the drugs or you don't give drugs. So the non-pharmacological measures are usually things like counseling, cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a type of psychotherapy. And then there are other things, like a lot of these things listed here, they're avoiding naps and all that sometimes can come into a particular thing called sleep hygiene. I'm going to talk about that when we move on to the next slide. That's actually a very important non-pharmacological way of managing insomnia. So the pharmacological ways are things like benzodiazepine, antihistamines, melatonin. All these things are medications. The first one, the benzodiazepine, written there, these drugs are usually preferred to be given only for a short period of time. When given for long periods of time, it can lead to dependence. The person can get dependent on the benzodiazepines, and they also have their own side effects as well. Next slide, please. So sleep hygiene, which I talked about, so this is easily the most preferred behavioral modification technique used to manage insomnia. So sleep hygiene refers to telling the person how to practice very good sleep, promoting practices. Like, for example, the person is advised to go to bed and wake up at least around the same time every day. So instead of, sometimes you go to bed by 8 p.m., sometimes you're going to bed by 10 p.m., sometimes by 12. That way, that's not proper sleep hygiene. If the person, if someone who doesn't struggle with insomnia may not have a problem with that. But if you struggle with insomnia, the first thing we actually have to do is try to regulate that. So 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. a day, and try getting up by 6 a.m. every day. So try making that a habitual thing. It usually helps. Second thing they talk about is meditation. Meditation, not everyone is well versed at doing meditation. So a person may need to do guided meditation, which has been known to promote sleep. Creating a bedtime routine. So people who first of all, you have that particular time you go to bed a day, you walk in, you take a shower, you go to bed. So having a particular bedtime routine would also help. Switching off all phones and every device as well. So if the person is on the bed, for example, and the person is finding it difficult to sleep, it's not advised that you watch something on your phone or be on your laptop. That would also increase the amount of time that you take before the person sleeps. Try to avoid stimulants like taking caffeine or any wakefulness promoting drink before bed. Try avoiding any heavy exercise or activity before bed as well. Try avoiding taking heavy meals shortly before bed. Make sure that the room is as comfortable as possible. So turn off the lights, make sure that it's cool. So put on the fan or AC. So these are the kind of things that are advised. And having this adequate sleep hygiene usually helps. Now, hypersomnia. This is the opposite of insomnia. In this case, person is having excessive amounts of sleep or excessive daytime sleepiness. So is either a person sleeping too much at night or having feeling sleepy for most of the day, or sometimes a combination of both. It's usually due to loss of nighttime sleep, which is why most of the time hypersomnia usually presents a lot with that excessive daytime sleepiness. Next, please. Now, the causes could be either primary. In primary cases, this is where usually like they have to do with things like other sleep disorders, such as narcolepsy, which we're going to talk about as we keep going. Even Klein-Levin syndrome, we're going to talk about this as we keep going as well. And there's actually a particular a type of hypersomnia known as idiopathic hypersomnia, which basically means that we don't know why. The person just feels sleepy for most times of the day and it's not really tied to anything in particular. Then in secondary cases, this is where maybe this is either due to some kind of disease, usually neurologic disease like multiple sclerosis, even depression sometimes can cause hypersomnia. Next slide. Now the treatment is usually we use stimulants. Stimulants can be anything from caffeine, but usually not that. Sometimes we give other drugs like non-sedating and selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. These are usually used for managing things like depression and anxiety, but we can also use in the long-term management of hypersomnia. Now, narcolepsy. This is a particularly interesting sleep disorder, and the features are usually cataplexy, sleep paralysis, hypnagogic hallucinations, excessive daytime somnolence. Now, to explain what these are, cataplexy, okay, well, I'm going to explain it in the next slide anyway. So, but I'm sure like some like this hypnagogic hallucinations, some of us, I mean, I know personally, I also have them. Sometimes with the sleep paralysis. Unfortunately, a whole lot of people have it, and it's always referred to as an attack, spiritual attack. Most people have referred to them as spiritual attacks. They are usually not spiritual attacks. Sometimes the way someone sleeps in bed, like if you're someone who covers yourself with a blanket or duvet, if you mistakenly maybe get wrapped up in your duvet or your blanket, it can actually lead to, you can experience this sleep paralysis. And anyone who has experienced it will know that it's very distressing. It's usually it usually happens with feeling completely immobile. You can't move your body. And usually there's this very terrifying thing that would happen. Either you're going to dream of some kind of demon trying to chase you or something and you can't move. But after a while, usually we get results. So that's actually sleep paralysis. And it goes hand in hand with that hypnagogic hallucination. Hypnagogic hallucination is basically seeing something or seeing something that is not there, experiencing a phenomenon that is not there, that is usually terrifying when waking up. That's hypnagogic hallucination. And then excessive daytime somnolence is almost like what we talk about when we're talking about hypersomnia. This person usually feels very sleepy throughout the day. So sleep attacks happen in narcolepsy where the person has episodes of irresistible sleepiness. So this is like you're sitting up, or it's really like almost like even in this presentation. So if I were to have narcolepsy, I would get this attack of sleep that it will be, I won't even be able to continue. So maybe this phone will just drop from my hand and I'll just fall and have to sleep about 10 to 20 minutes, of which when I wake up, I'll feel refreshed and maybe pick up and tell you people I'm sorry, but you know, I had to sleep because usually it's not preventable. So like I said, they are caused in inappropriate times. While talking, while eating, the person could be eating and the sleep attack will come and the person can even fall face first into their meal. They usually are not able to stop the sleep attacks when they come. So this is like a pictorial depiction of what I talked about in the beginning. What I didn't explain before was cataplexy. And why I wanted to wait to these pictures. This actually happens to people where people who have narcolepsy, where like they show the lady who's sitting down, she's laughing. And then all of a sudden she falls asleep. That actually happens. It's called cataplexy, where the person loses muscle tone. So maybe they are laughing or even crying, any excessive or intense emotional reaction. And then the muscles will just go fully paralyzed and the person falls and most likely goes straight to sleep. So that actually happens to people. So as I said, it's particularly interesting. If you see someone who has it, it can be very distressing because imagine that you're in a gathering talking to people and then they say something funny and you start laughing and all of a sudden the muscles just get paralyzed and you fall down and start sleeping. That's usually not the best. So next slide, please. So the management is usually detailed. So the polysomnography, which I mentioned here, I'm still going to talk about that in the end, is actually the most adequate way to diagnose a lot of sleep disorders. It's a combination of three things where There's the brain wave waves are checked, the eye movements are checked, and also the muscle function is checked. So we'll talk about that in the end as well. Then there are different tests as well that are called sleep latency tests. So they also, like if we don't have that many of them here, but I mean, places like the US and other places have things like, they're called sleep clinics. So this person is monitored. They watch the person's sleep pattern. The person is even asked to keep a sleep diary where they look at the person's sleep patterns to know how or where to, help the person out. Medications are also used. There are a couple of them mentioned here: modafinil, dexamphetamine. These are all stimulants drugs, methylphenidate. And then because of the cataplexy, drugs like the venlafaxine and other medications can be given. Next slide. So this breathing-related sleep disorders, the first one I'm going to talk about is obstructive sleep apnea syndrome. In this case, this is usually due to obstructions in the airway. So in this case, the person has apnea, hypopnea. Apnea is loss of respiration. Hypopnea is reduction in respiration and oxygen saturation. So basically, this case usually happens when there's which is why one of the most common symptoms is snoring. It's basically there's something blocking the airway, so the person is not getting in enough oxygen as they're sleeping. So this is usually most times seen in people who are overweight. So the features are usually daytime drowsiness, periodic respiration. So the person can even have periods when they are sleeping where they are not actually breathing. That can happen, which is why this can actually sometimes be a life-threatening disorder. But it is actually not as bad as the opposite of it, which is the central sleep apnea syndrome. Central sleep apnea, in this particular case, the problem is that the center for sleep in the brain is where the respiration is cut off from. And in this particular case, that one can be due to anything from a variety of causes, like even seizures and different kinds of causes. That one can be particularly more life-threatening. This one is usually better because it can be modified. Next slide, please. So the management, in this case, you're of course going to want to relieve the respiratory obstruction. So there are certain things called like mandibular devices where the person is giving, there's almost like a mouth guard. So what it does is that it keeps the person's airway open, which will reduce snoring and of course prevent the periods of apnea that they experience. Encouraging weight loss, because like I said, this is particularly very common in people who are overweight. So you have to encourage weight loss. Then there's something called continuous positive airway pressure. I mean, no one is expected to know this offhand, but in the medical practice, we use that where they are setting it's like a device that is that the person has to hook up to their nose to help them. So this is usually done when we found that some of these other things don't work, like clearing away the obstruction. Maybe the person hasn't lost weight at the time, or this person experiences a lot of periods of apnea. Obviously, you're not going to want the person to die in their sleep. So we construct this CPAP, continuous positive airway pressure, and that's what works. So now in circadian rhythm sleep disorder, which like I said, circadian rhythm is basically talking about the body's biological clock. So that is how the body responds to the environment. So that's circadian rhythm. So jet lag, this one is going to be very, very common among people who travel a lot. So say you're traveling from somewhere, a place that has different time zones. There's going to be some kind of disruption in your sleep pattern, usually in initiating or maintaining sleep, daytime fatigue, decrease in daytime alertness and performance. So anybody who has traveled maybe from different continents, especially where there's a significant change in the time zones, will tell you, and you maybe for a while, and usually results without treatment for about 2 to 7 days until the person's body basically adjusts to the new time. Delayed sleep phase is basically where there's a late appearance of sleep. So this is usually maybe around 2 a.m., but the normal total sleep time is usually okay. So there's basically it happens to a lot of people where it just takes a very long time to sleep off. So there's a very long time. So you maybe lie down in bed and you don't sleep till like maybe 12-1. But then normally once you fall asleep, you can continue to have your normal sleep. Next, shift work type. This is seen a lot in people who run their jobs and shifts. So there's a night shift, and then maybe the next week you're on a day shift, and then your night shift again. That disruption where you have to be awake sometimes in the night, another time you have to be awake during the day. That disruption sometimes can lead to circadian rhythm sleep disorder of the shift work type. So it usually takes about 1 to 2 weeks to adapt to. So let's say you had a normal 9 to 5, but then you start a job where maybe this week you're on night shift, next week you're on day shift. It will take some time for the body to adjust to that sleep pattern. So the management is usually general measures, talking about sleep. That sleep hygiene is usually one of the best measures that we use here. Chronotherapy. So that's chronotherapy is basically, again, all it has to do with timing. You tell the person to go to sleep at a particular time and make sure you wake up at a particular time. Then, of course, if it's so distressing, where maybe the person is on night shift or for whatever, even the jet lag type of example, and the person is finding it difficult falling asleep, you don't want this person functioning without sleep. So you may give short-acting benzodiazepines for a short period of time, because like I said, those drugs can be very, that can cause dependence. Next slide, please. Somnambulism or sleepwalking. This one is mostly, I'm sure most times people see these things in movies. I don't know, but I haven't personally met anyone who does it. But especially in childhood, there are certain people who do this. This is basically where this the individual is carrying out behaviors which we call automatisms. Automatism because the person is not in control at that time. Aimless wandering, carrying out, this person can urinate in unusual places, maybe into the fridge, or even sometimes even some people have even said they drove and left the house and driven a car and they don't know that they are doing this. So this can actually lead to serious accidents. And the individual easily returns to bed or falls back to normal sleep and usually doesn't remember the episode at all by the next morning. So this person will do these things throughout the night and the next morning will have no recollection of having done them. Next slide. Management is usually aimed at protecting the person from harm. So if this is a person who does this occasionally, because think about it, this person could fall from the stairs, hit their leg on furniture or things like that. So part of the management is if this person is prone to doing that, sometimes since the person locks the door, maybe the person has a spouse or something, the person has to have the key with them. Make sure that there's nothing in between the person and maybe say the bathroom or something like that. Make sure that there are no chairs or a lot of furniture and things like that around. The person will bump into them. Make sure things like windows are locked, because the person is on a top floor, can actually jump out of the window or the balcony or something. So basically, the main aim is to make sure the person doesn't hurt themselves or other people. So that's why being in a locked room is also one very good important measure, because if this person drives in that condition, the person can hurt themselves and a lot of other people. Sleep hygiene, of course, is also advocated here. And then sometimes small doses of the benzodiazepines that we're talking about can be given, especially if the person has frequent episodes of high-risk behaviors like driving. You give person benzodiazepines so the person stays asleep without waking up to walk around. Next slide. Now, sleep terrors. This is typically more common in children, and it can be very terrifying, especially if you have a child that has that. This usually happens when there's arousal in the first third of the night during stage 3 of non-REM sleep. Person has recurrent episodes of abrupt awakening from sleep with a panic scream. So anyone who has a child who has this will tell you it's very terrifying. They wake up, they are screaming. Usually when they wake up, they do not remember the dream or whatever they were saying. They are very afraid. And one particular factor here is that they don't respond to consolation. So if the child is screaming and the person's mother should go there trying to hold on to them, to reassure them that nothing is all right, that could actually make things worse, because holding on to the child could actually make the child to hurt himself or the mother. So in this type of scenario, parents are usually advised to try to refrain from going to console the child. The thing does stop after a while, and the child usually doesn't remember having this problem. But if you go to console the child, you could potentially make things worse. So management is usually by reassurance and reducing stressors, because of course sometimes these have been tied to things like this child growing up in a disruptive home and different postulations, but there's no known cause for this sleep terror. So rarely, unless it is very, very important, low doses of benzodiazepines can also be used as well. Next slide. Now, nightmare disorder. In this particular case, this is almost like night terror. In this case, there's repeated awakening, usually after long REM sleep. This one now happens in REM, whereas night terrors occur in the non-REM, that's non-rapid eye movement stage. And usually there's frightening experiences, just like in night terrors. But there's a difference here in the sense that this person actually wakes up the next day and does remember the nightmare. So the management is also sleep hygiene, and sometimes tricyclic antidepressants are given. Next slide. I made like this is like a difference between nightmare and night terror mostly because of that particular scenario I described earlier. One particular thing is that if this is a nightmare, if you console the child, that would actually help. The child will feel better because the child will remember, and usually the child remembers the nightmare the next day. But in night terrors, is to be very careful because night terrors, most of the time, consoling, the child will not respond to that and could make things worse. So that's actually why I wanted to make sure that that distinction is given. Next slide. Restless leg syndrome, also known as egg bomb syndrome. In this case, anybody experiencing this phenomenon would have an irresistible urge to move their legs and usually disrupt sleep. So anybody happens to imagine sleeping and the person feels the need to move their legs. So this can actually cause a disruption in sleep pattern, which can also lead to insomnia. It can occur in certain metabolic things like iron deficiency, even in pregnancy. Some women during their pregnancy experience this restless leg syndrome, and some other medications can cause it. So things that for management, you can also use things like benzodiazepines, like I said, gabapentin. So a couple of drugs are basically used to manage the restless leg syndrome. But also, just like every other sleep disorder, behavioral modifications are usually the first step before we go to management with medications. Now, sleep and drugs. So certain drugs can influence sleep. Either they increase it, where a person has things like hypersomnia, or decrease, or a person has things like insomnia. So things like hypnotics, so there are certain drugs that can actually cause excessive sleeping. Antidepressants, some antidepressants actually cause hypersomnia, while some of them cause insomnia. Antipsychotics also, or cholinesterase inhibitors. So basically, these are drugs seen in the medical sector that can influence sleep. Whereas on the recreational side, alcohol, nicotine, stimulants, cannabis, basically every drug that is usually called to abuse can influence sleep in some way. One thing also worthy of note sometimes is what came first. Sometimes people use some of these drugs to cope with having certain things. Like someone who has insomnia, for example, could drink to fall asleep. Somebody who also has alcohol use problems, anybody who abuses alcohol can, because of alcohol, have either excessive sleepiness or excessive daytime sleepiness. So one can lead to the other, is what I'm trying to say. Somebody has insomnia, they could use alcohol to cope, and somebody who takes alcohol excessively can now develop a sleep disorder because of it. Next slide, please. Sleep and digital devices. I mentioned this one particularly here because especially when you're talking to young people, this is the age of the phone, the tablet, the laptop. It has been shown that these phones, screens, they release artificial blue light. And this artificial blue light has been known to delay circadian rhythm. It also suppresses something called melatonin. Melatonin is produced by the brain, and this is actually that's actually a neurochemical that helps with sleep. It also delays the onset of REM sleep. So that's why people, the part of sleep hygiene, they emphasize a lot. Try not to put on your phone, try not to turn on your laptop, and avoid using things like your tablets or even watching television close to the time to go to bed. If you must do something, if you're trying to fall asleep and you feel like you must do something, you should read the printed book instead. Next slide. So most times during any type of sleep disorder, what we do in medical practice, the first thing you do is you assess the patient by taking a detailed history. So the history, you're trying to find out the type of difficulty the person is having, whether it has any associated conditions, looking out for causes, how severe it is, any medical or psychiatric history the person has, whether there's any family history of it, especially in the case of restless leg syndrome. Also do a physical examination to rule out any physical challenges, neurological examination. Tell them to keep a sleep diary, and then there are certain sleep assessment tools. So there are like skills that we use where we assess the kind of problems person is having so that we can make an appropriate diagnosis. Next slide. The polysomnography, like I mentioned earlier, it's basically most times done in sleep clinics where the person is hooked up to and to three. Like I said, there are three major things that are checked. The first one I mentioned, which is the electroencephalogram, that's the EEG. This is one that looks at brain waves. The electroocculogram looks at the eye movement, and the electromyogram looks at the building muscles, because these three things are the main things in sleep: the brain activity, eye movement, and the muscles. So these are things that are studied. The sleep latency tests are also conducted, and there are also some tests we call maintenance of wakefulness tests, where the person is told to be awake for certain periods of time, and all these things are assessed and monitored. And these are usually done, especially when the person has at least already given a history suggestive of a sleep disorder. So we find out which one it is and know how to manage. So that's the end of the slide. And thank you very, very much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Doc, as always. Guys, can we appreciate Doc and leave any nuggets? If you've learned anything during the course of this presentation, please, would you be able to leave it on the chat box for her? I believe we've learned something. We've all learned something. Thank you so much for another amazing presentation. We always appreciate it. Really appreciate this. Fantastic presentation, Title says. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Doc. Yes, Tonya, fantastic presentation indeed. Would you also drop what you've learned? I'm sure we've all learned something. Let's just drop all the nuggets. Thank you. Need to summarize it again, because you did justice is simplified and reduced to our level.
I tried to, because it was very technical. Yes. So that's why I didn't want to go. It's a very technical topic.
Yes.
So I tried to make sure it was,
Yes, we appreciate the simplicity. Thank you for simplifying it. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Doc. Yes, I agree, Kelly. Really in depth and fantastic. Yes, thank you, everybody, for your comment. Thank you, Doc, once more.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. So right now, we are going to take like a break before the next presentation. So please don't leave, sit back. It's going to be a music therapy by amazing Ebu Canary. I hope she's ready to thrill us. Yes, I agree. Chidima say wonderful presentation. Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Chuku. Yes, Irene say, I'm glad I didn't miss it, indeed. And also get your questions ready, because we'll have an interactive question and answer after Kelly's presentation. So we'll take all the questions at once. We'll also like to ask our YouTube and live audiences to drop their questions, and somebody will pick it up. Yes, Coletta say best sleep hygiene practices. Fantastic presentation. Yes, thank you. Awesome presentation, Meru. Thank you so much, everybody. Is Ebu Canary ready? Can you spotlight the FACEYOUTH Center? I guess they can unmute themselves. Okay, so I think we'll just go straight to the next presentation. Hello, are you back? Are you able to present the next presenter? Are you okay? Or should I continue?
Yeah, I get. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Okay.
You can hear me. Oh, lovely. Oh my God, this connection is something else. I'm suing these people. I already paid them. This connection is terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. It would have been nice, because you know, experts tell us that music is one way of relaxing the nerves for a good sleep. So it would have been nice if Ebu Canary was here to serenade us. I know she's on the schedule, but in the absence of that, permit me to quickly introduce our next speaker. Do I have your go ahead to introduce the next speaker, or is Ebu Canary with us? Hello, Ify, are you there?
I can hear you. Okay, I'm trying to find out what's going on at the FACEYOUTH Center. I think that they've unmuted themselves, but we can't see the video.
Is
Your
Ebu
video
Canary ready for us?
is ready.
Yeah, she's ready.
Can you put
Okay,
your
beautiful. All right. My personal favorite.
Come this way.
Hello, are we together?
Yeah.
Wow. My personal favorite is in the house.
Hello, everyone.
Let's celebrate the best songstress in the world for excellence. Ebu Canary, please take it away. The best musician, take it away.
Thank you so much, incredible anchor, Henrietta Chukwu. Thank you to all the organizers of this event for having me. Thank you, FACEYOUth. It's an honor to be here once again today to serenade you. Enjoy this next performance. If you're going through something or anything and you don't know what to do with it, just know that as long as there is a light, there's hope, and we keep working on our challenges to be better. Enjoy this performance. Broken down and tired, living life on a merry-go-round. You can find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we're gonna work it out and move mountain. We're gonna work it out and move mountain. I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and not to be 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, high like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and not to it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you. See, as you they walk, you don't get tired. But for this life, don't be by you walk my soul. No matter how strong will be, don't cry. Cause if you believe, you surely work it out and move mountain. You surely work it out and move mountain. And you rise up, you rise like the day. You rise up, you rise unafraid. You rise up, and you do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you. Yeah. All we need is love. And for that we have each other. And for that we have each other. Hey. Believe nobody when they try to push you down. 'Cause only God will surely lift you off the ground. And if you believe, say amen. Say amen. We rise. We rise. Oh, yes, we rise. Yes, we rise. And we rise up. We'll rise like the day. We rise up. We rise unashamed. We rise up. And we do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for all of us, we rise up, we rise, oh yes, we rise, yes, we rise. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow, 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 wow. That's an absolutely beautiful one by Ebu Canary. Thank you. Rise up and be the change that you want to see, especially in this era and dispensation. Thank you, Ebu Canary, for that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song. All right, without wasting time, as announced before, I hope we are getting our questions ready. We will be going into the next session. Our speaker will be bringing up the next speaker shortly, but I just want us to get our questions ready because we'll be having a question and answer session in the end of the presentation. All right. Kelly Sims is a community impact advisor for Robertson Eastern Limited, who regionally supports the business across the northeast of Scotland. Kelly has worked for Robertson since 2018, and has over 14 years of experience working with young people and communities in various settings. She supports each project to add social value to the community by delivering real opportunities to learn and benefit from our projects. She does this by building positive relationships in the community and supporting or creating opportunities to deliver a lasting legacy. She is passionate about creating a positive impact on communities, whether it's investing locally in talent and skills or working with our customers, suppliers, and partners to support the local and national economy. Kelly takes pride in transforming communities, knowing there is a greater purpose to what we do. Throughout Kelly's career, she has supported and championed mental health awareness. She's currently a fully trained mental health first aider for the business. I believe it's FACEYOUTH that we're talking about. So without wasting time, let us welcome Kelly Sims. Kelly, please take it away. The stage is yours.
Hi everyone. So thank you so much for Iffy and the team at FACEYOUTH for inviting me along to speak today at this fantastic event. I think you know what you do for the charity and what you do for young people is absolutely incredible. And yeah, just thank you so much for inviting me along. I'm actually honoured to be here today. So I'll put you on. If you just go on to the next slide. I'm a bit like, right, okay, I'm not going to be as in-depth as the last Dr. Chuku, but we'll try and go there. Or can you go to the next slide? Can you put it on the full screen if you don't mind? Oh, thank you. So just thought a little bit about my journey, which obviously we've just been on the slide. So just a little bit about how I got into, mental health and a bit about construction. So I left school and did public services. Then I did a criminal justice degree. And then from there, I was a childcare practitioner working in a secure unit. So my background was working with young people from 11 to 18 that was placed in a secure unit for their own welfare. And that's how I got into basically working with young people with mental health. It's quite complex issues from working with young people. So from then I was promoted to a senior child care practitioner. And then I actually moved to Scotland 8 years ago, and I still wanted to work with young people because that's my passion. I decided that when I was doing my criminal justice degree that actually I don't want to be stuck in an office and, you know, going into court and writing reports. That's not who I am. I'm a people's person. So I wanted to work with people. I wanted to continue that when we moved to Scotland. So I applied at SHMU, and I was an employability support worker, and, you know, working with young people on the other side of actually helping them into employment, education, or training. That's working with stage 2 young people who have not got the best opportunities all life, or are suffering from quite a lot of barriers into the 3 things. So I also did a career advice and guidance postgrad degree while I was working full time. I nearly cried every single day, and I probably was sleep deprived from doing that, to be honest. So yeah, and then after that I then got a job at Robertson working in construction. So again, I wanted to continue my journey of supporting young people and adults, and I've been made the mental health first aider for the business as well. So again, just supporting everyone in construction with mental health issues. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, I'll just explain how I got involved with FACEYOUth. We had surplus materials, so surplus office chairs and tables, and I emailed ACVO, which is a volunteering service, and said that we had like a piano, different things, table chairs, and that's when I met Iffy, and then from them we've built this amazing partnership, and I hope it continues. So yeah, just helping wherever I can. So what is sleep deprivation, and what is sleep and why do we need it? So sleep is a natural periodic suspension of consciousness. So during the powers of the body are restored. So we all need sleep, we all need rest to make sure that our body, you know, can function properly the next day. So sleep length has been associated with subjective and psychological well-being, which the doctor just explained to us all in quite depth, and as well as overall life satisfaction. So if the quantity of sleep is not of sufficient quality, it will impact in us waking activities and could even affect long-term health. So as we explained, as the doctor explained before, you know, to fully function, to make sure that we can do everyday activities, and we need to make sure that we have a good quality of sleep, which obviously can affect our long-term health in the long run. And individuals sleeping 6 hours or less a night have a 70% higher mortality rate than those who sleep for 7 or 8 hours. So, you know, that's quite impactful statement there, that actually people who have like 1 or 2 hours less a night, there's a higher mortality. So that just puts it into perspective. Next slide, please. So what is sleep deprivation? So it's a significant loss of sleep resulting in problems in concentration. So some of the symptoms of sleep deprivation is some of the physical ones you would see would be like trembling of hands, people who are not having inattention, so they're not concentrating, they're not listening to what you're saying, stirring off into space, that's another symptom. Droopy eyelids, again, that's a physical symptom. Generally discomfort, so slow thinking. Again, when you speak to someone, you can see that they're not concentrating. Reduced attention span, worsening of memory, so not being able to, you know, having brain fog, not being able to remember what you're doing and what you're saying, and having the lack of energy. That's really common with someone who's sleep deprived, is just not being able to function again, and having a lack of energy to do simple tasks really. And mood changes and stress levels rising. So, you know, people can be quite short-tempered, or you know, you can see them in quite a stressed state of mind. Next slide, please. Again, so some of the things that you would see would be, for instance, constantly yawning. So if a person's constantly yawning, you know, obviously that they're tired. Again, they could be deprived of some sleep. And the tendency to doze off when they're not active for a while. For example, when they're watching TV, they can just doze off. You see a lot of people, you know, when they come home from work, having a little nap after work. Again, are they getting enough sleep? And being groggy as well. So when you're waking up in the morning. And grogginess is experienced all through the day, so sleep internia. So a little bit like the doctor explained before. And again, I've already said poor concentration and mood changes, being more irritable in everyday tasks. So feeling of like there's a cycle of sleep. So you get a lack of sleep, then obviously you're tired through the day, which is difficulty with coping with daily life tasks, which can also amount to like low self-esteem. So how you function in your daily life, and then that can lead to feeling worrying, and that can lead to stress. So it's really important that, you know, we do get our sleep in, and we do get a full 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, because it's really important for mental health. Next slide, please. So health issues, these are some of the things that the doctor had mentioned in the previous slide and went into quite depth of each one. But insufficient sleep has been linked to things like lack of stress management skills, increased risks of colds and infections. So, you know, constantly, like, you know, your immune system is so low that you're picking up colds and infections and just generally not feeling well. And that can be a sign of sleep deprivation. So if you're constantly, you know, not feeling well, then maybe it's a sign of, you know, you're not getting enough sleep. And occupational and traffic accidents as well. So these have been linked to, you know, people falling asleep at the wheel. You know, that's like a really common accident on the road, which, you know, we see statistics about that. You see road signs on the motorway. You know, if you're tired, please stop, please have a break. You know, tired kills, and that's so true. So, you know, listening to your own body, listening to the signs. If you're feeling tired, you know, call it a station, grab yourself a coffee and just take like half an hour's rest. And chronic disease, which the doctor explained a lot of what can cause, and it suggests that like people who suffer from chronic diseases and acute sleep deprivation, suggests that some individuals are more likely to experience symptoms of lack of sleep that may be tied to a person's genetics, again, which the doctor explained in the previous slides, and heightened levels of negative emotional states such as depression, anger, sadness, or fear. So again, it's just really important to highlight that how important it is to, you know, get a really good night's sleep. Speaking of insomnia, that's something that I've personally struggled with and suffered from. And it only happened to me about 8 years ago when I suffered a bereavement in the family. And from them, I've just suffered from insomnia, which is not great. And it comes on me like every few months. And yeah, I don't have a good time when I suffer from insomnia, but I try to do everything that I can. You know, real on the next slide, I'll explain some of the things that the doctor explained. You know, it's about looking after your sleep hygiene. It's about getting into a routine and looking after yourself and making sure that, you know, you switch off, your mind switches down, and you know, don't go on your phone and things like that. So that's really important for your own mental health. Next slide, please. Effects on children. So like, how does it affect children? And it's really important that, you know, when we're looking after our children, or that we understand, you know how important it is to have a routine for children, and, you know, to make sure that they have a real structure at bedtime, and make sure that, you know, they're not going on their iPads till 8-9 o'clock at night, and we're switching them off, because research shows that sleep is even more critical for adolescents and the bodies and the brains that experience rapid growth and development. So children are still growing, still developing, and it's really important for the child's brain. And lack of sleep in developing children have demonstrated deficits in cognition and deficits within working memory and attention. So again, having that cognitive effect on the brain and the development of the child. So children sleeping almost 1 hour less than the average child may be at risk of significant conduct difficulties as well. So again, you know, research has showed that. So it's just really important to have a routine. And shorter sleep time has been associated with externalizing problems, delinquency, throughout disorders in children aged 7 to 12 years old. Again, that's quite alarming and quite worrying when you actually read what, you know, how sleep can affect a young person's development. Thank you. Next slide. I'm just going to show you just a short video, just everything that we've explained today. So.
Hi everyone, it's Yanis here, and in this video we will explore what is sleep deprivation. To get more things done, it's not always the best idea to reduce your sleep, as that can backfire on you. If this is your first time on this channel, then make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon to get updates on my latest videos about time management and productivity. Sleep deprivation, also known as insufficient sleep or sleeplessness, is a condition of not having enough sleep. The loss of sleep is a common problem in modern society, affecting many individuals at some point in their lives. You might have a deadline that you need to meet at work, and you might decide to sacrifice your sleep to put in extra hours of work. Or you might be working multiple jobs to get out of the debt, and that is reducing the time you can sleep. While sacrificing sleep can be the solution for the short term, this is not a strategy that will work in the long term. This is because sleep deprivation has side effects that will negatively impact your productivity and performance. In the end, there is no point to invest 2 extra hours per day in work if you don't accomplish anything during these 2 hours. Sleep deprivation weakens your immune system, meaning that you're more likely to get sick, and it's also been linked with a host of other health risks. To ensure that you don't become sleep deprived, here are some quick tips that you can use. First, planning. Make sure you don't take on more projects than you can handle, so that you can avoid staying up late to finish them. Second, pay back your sleep debt. If you have short sleep during the working days, then at least compensate for it by sleeping extra over weekends. Third, improve your sleep hygiene. Make sure that you get quality sleep by not eating too late, going to the bed with a clear mind, and keeping a consistent sleep schedule. I hope you enjoyed this video and I was able to give you a quick summary of what sleep deprivation is and what role it plays in our life. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate if you could press the like button, as this will help the video reach more.
Thank you. So things that we've already spoke about, which you can interfere. Sorry, I'm trying to move this over here. Things can, we need to avoid things that can interfere with sleep. So electronic devices, so things like TVs, phones, iPads. Again, we're all guilty for doing this. Computers and anything that keeps your mind stimulated that you need to turn off, even lights on devices. So we've already spoke about the blue lights on your phone, turning that on to, I think it's like a yellow, or turning the blue light off on your phone, which can affect and stimulate the mind. Which is called a circadian rhythm, which the doctor already spoke about. As a result, avoiding these 1 hour before bedtime. If you can do 2 hours, 2 hours will be better than 1. And alcohol, especially at night, can disrupt affecting the quality of consistency. So, that again, that's a stimulant as well. And caffeine, again, this is also a stimulant which makes you more alert. I'm sure when we've all had a Starbucks or we've all had a Costa, that we're all, very alert after that. So that can stay around in your body for several hours. So, not having a coffee at like after 6 o'clock, probably, that would be the best thing to get a good night's sleep. And naps as well. So if you're one that has a nap, which we've already spoke about, the doctor explained that naps are good for you. If you've got insomnia, maybe not. Best to avoid them altogether. But even micro naps is something that you close your eyes and then a few seconds later you've had a micro nap. I wish I could have naps, and even on holiday, when I go on holiday, like I don't have a siesta, which everyone does. I normally sit on the balcony with my Lay's crisp. Because I feel terrible after I've had a nap. But some people, having 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes nap feel the world of difference after that. So, as long as it's not too late in the afternoon, then yeah, they're all good for you. Next, please. So how can you improve your sleep? So we've touched on this quite a bit. So you can, sleep a few extra hours. So as the video explained, if you've, had something on in the week and, you've had to stay up late, or you've got something on your mind and you've not had much sleep, or you just had a terrible night's sleep because due to stress or anything that's going on in your personal life, then, at the weekend, compensate for that. Make sure that, you have a couple of hours extra in bed and just rest your body as much as you can. And again, taking a power nap, if you can, for like 10-15 minutes, that will always help your body to rewind. Keep the temperature low as well, because there's research that says if the temperature is low, that you get, again, your mind, your body, how you function will sleep better. So not always being, having the heating on blasting at night, that's not going to help you to sleep. And practice sleep hygiene. So again, that's already been spoken about. That's really important. Getting in a routine, getting in a structure, clearing your mind, making sure everything's in place for that night's sleep. And go to bed earlier as well, if you can do, or make sure you have an extra hour when you wake up, if you can. And avoid caffeine. We've already talked about that. And again, if none of these things are working, then talk to your doctor and they can give you some prescribed medication, as the doctor already explained before, if this is becoming a real problem. And that's me. Thank you. I'm sorry it's not as in-depth as the doctor. Yeah, it's really good. But thank you, everyone. Or if you're on...
Thank you. Yes. Sorry, I was talking on I think we've lost Henry again. Thank you for that amazing presentation. Oh, he's here. William, would you be able to make him co-host so he can unmute himself? He's
Thank
here.
you, everyone.
Okay. Henry, you can unmute yourself. Thank you for that amazing presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kelly, for that success, very clear presentation. We love it so much. Very insightful and as well as inspirational. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
All right. I hope we have our questions ready. I believe that we can go straight to the question and answer session. I will start with Kelly. I have a personal question for Kelly. I also have a question for Dr. Chukwu. Kelly, I need you to tell me more about this 6-hour sleep, because we hear so many successful people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Jack Ma alluding to the fact that even 6 hours of sleep is too much. How true is that? How they tell you that successful people don't sleep more than 3 hours.
Yeah.
I want to be like them. I stay awake. I want to study. I want to wake up early. Because I want to follow those people that are successful, so that I can become successful. But I've heard a lot of them say that even 6 hours of sleep is too much. Can you tell me more about that, please?
Yeah.
And they don't seem to be sick. Most of them look healthy.
I know they don't. I would say I think studies, I think men don't need as much sleep as women. And I think 6 hours for men, I think that would be enough, and that would, but for me, I think 6 to 7 hours is plenty enough for a person to function. But yeah, 3 hours, certainly not. I think 3 hours, your body would start to compensate in other ways, and your body will always catch up with you, whether that's going to be now or whether that'll be in the next 2 or 3, 4 months. But your body will compensate in other areas, whether that's mentally or physically, because you can't. I don't believe you can fully function on 3 to 4, 5 hours. I don't know what the doctor's opinion would be on that. She's probably know a lot more than me, but I would say no. I would say that that they can't function. And there would have to be some compensations, whether that's now or later on in life. It would cause health conditions further on in life.
Okay. I'm not sure what they call it. Is that sorry? Are you done, ma'am? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that answer. Okay. So there is a what's it called again? There's a side effect to staying awake at night and depriving yourself of the normal 6 hours sleep. Is that what you're saying, ma'am?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm saying that, yeah. In my opinion. Maybe the doctor
Okay,
could
thank you.
explain a little.
Thank you.
Maybe,
Thank you.
sorry.
As well. Yeah. No, I'm asking hello, Henry. Does he want to get Dr. Chukwu's opinion as well on that? Ebenezer, I think you should spotlight.
Okay, let's get her opinion. I believe that she's in the house. Let's get her perspective on that as well, if she doesn't mind. Is Dr. Chukwu here?
Oh, I think he's left. Maybe network.
Okay. I have a question for her actually, but I have another question for her. I have these two basic questions, but I need Dr. Chukwu. I don't know who will be able to answer this. My second question.
Okay, let's take the questions for Kelly first. Let me find out what's going on with her network.
Okay, my network is not that great as well, because I can barely hear sometimes. It just drops to zero. I need a perspective on REM. Are we together? I need a perspective on REM because I'm a dangerous dreamer like Joseph, so I'm particularly interested in REM because I hear that it is the most important segment during sleep, and in the sense that you actually remember what you dream about. How can I balance my life to be able to be more alert during the REM? Because I want to remember my dream. Because most times I tend to forget my dreams, especially the important ones.
I think Kelly can take that. Kelly, can you take the question?
Yeah, so when you're in REM, your eyes move more rapidly in range of directions and visual information is sent. So, that doesn't happen when you're in REM sleep. So sometimes you have different cycles, as the doctor explained. I don't really know much about REM and the other one that she said. So, maybe I'm not quite sure. I know the doctor's not with us at the minute. But yeah, REM sleeps. Is REM sleep when you're in a deep sleep?
No, they say it's during REM. You remember, you have a tendency to remember the things that you dream about, because I think the muscles or some part, you're mentally alert during that period to an extent or something, if I'm correct. I'm not a doctor, but I'm a preacher, and sometimes we use it when we preach, to say, during REM, it's important that you remember your dream, because the devil does not want you to remember your dream. So I want to remember my dream so that, like Joseph in the Bible, I can tell my folks about my dream, or I can tell myself, not even my folks, because Joseph told his family, his brothers, about his dream, and they sold him. They almost killed him. So it's just for myself, I want to know if there's a way I can even remember my dream more, because I tend to forget my dreams.
Yeah, I'm the same. There's some occasions where you do wake up and you think you're in the dream. Like, is this a dream? And you have to pinch yourself.
Okay.
I'm the same. I don't understand the 4 stages.
Okay.
I know she went through them, but I
dynamics. Okay, not a problem. Not a problem. I'll probably speak to her off the record or off the video or the meeting. I'll get some answers. I'm sure. Yeah. Just going forward, I believe that. Do we have any other questions? Because I just heard. Do we have any other questions, ma'am?
Yeah, somebody sent a question to you. Say, what advice do you have for people who work predominantly night shifts but struggle to sleep through the day? Difficult to take naps as well. What advice do you have for them?
Mute, Anna. Yeah, I think when you work nights, I think your sleep pattern is disturbed. We're not nocturnal, so I think again it all comes down to structure. It all comes down to sleep hygiene. Having a real structure and being able to function at night. Working nights is extremely hard. I've done nights myself, so from experience. I definitely wasn't having 8 hours, 7, 8 hours sleep a night. But again, it was about, being in a real sleeping structure, and to get the benefit out of sleeping at night, making sure that, I had a blackout blind in my bedroom, making sure that, sometimes, the window cleaner would come and, children are playing out on the street. So it's about, sometimes putting headphones in or whatever sleep aid you have to help you to go to sleep. But yeah, it's just about structure, and I really struggled to get into sleep when I worked nights, and just decided that nights just wasn't for me, because it was affecting me, at the weekends, or again when I literally couldn't function properly. So nights was very short-lived for me personally, but again, it's all about your sleep structure. Is that okay?
All right. Thank you so much for the answer. Do we have any other question, or should I even add light? Let me add light to what Kelly just explained about night shifts. Because naturally you're programmed to sleep at night, and you work night, it's very difficult for your system, to correspond or to adjust to that system. But, everything in life is about training. You need to retrain yourself during the day to be able to sleep. Just like Kelly said, you can put earphones, shut out the blinds, just program yourself, program your environment. You have to force yourself. And believe you me, if you do it for some time, you become used to it. Your body would eventually adjust to that period of sleep, the day sleep. Just try it. It might work for you. I don't know if that makes sense. All right. Do we have any other questions, please? I've just been informed that we have another musical.
There's a question for Dr. Chukwu on the YouTube live. Unfortunately, we're going to send it to the respond privately.
Yes.
I don't think she's been able to join back. Yeah, she's having network issues. So we will send, if you send us any questions.
Okay, there's a question
we'll
that I'm just looking at right now on the chat stream.
Back to you. We'll speak to her. Just let the admins know.
Yeah, there's a question I'm looking at now. Somebody has it would have been nice if we had Dr. Chukwu in the house, because she's the one that talked about this disorder of sleep and everything. Somebody says, I live in Nigeria and has been battling with panic attacks, anxiety disorder, insomnia, which got worse recently. where I couldn't sleep for about 2 to 3 months. This person might need an expert, opinion in this regard. I don't know. Face Youth admin, can we kindly collate these questions? We'll probably answer them privately, and just revert to those persons. There's another question here. It says, is there a long-term impact on shift worker based on the long term? Is there an impact? I don't quite understand the question. It says, is there a long-term impact on shift worker based on the long term? Insomnia. I don't know. Okay, moving forward. Can you hear me? Are we still together? Are we still together? Ify? Hello, Ify?
Yeah, I can hear.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Well, I hear there's another musical champion in the house. I don't know. Maybe we should just get into a musical interlude, so that as the admin continues to collate the questions that are coming in. I was informed that NG the Great is in the house. Can we welcome NG the Great to serenade us a lot more? NG the Great, please, the stage is yours.
You can unmute her.
Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? And I hope everyone is doing great. I just want to thank Ify and all the team for the great work. And we're just here to sing the song. Hello everybody, the audience, all the speakers. Hello, I hope you all are doing great. I've just got a song to sing and it's I'm a Going Up by Angel Da Great. I'm a Going Up. Let's take it away. Cause I'm a going up. Hey, I'm a going up. Cause I'm a going up. I'm a going up. I'm a going up. Hey, I'm a going up. Oh, I'm a going up. I'm a going up. Cause I'm a going up. Hey, I'm a going up. I'm a going up. Going up, yeah. Ooh, going up, yeah. Ooh, to stand up, yeah. Ooh, to stand up, yeah. Ooh, because Jesus is on my side. Our destiny has changed because we are all powerful. Our destiny has changed. Ooh, cause we are going up, hey, we are going up, come on, going up, going up, hey, going up, oh, going up, going up, going up, we are going up, cause we are going up, cause we are going up, hey, we are riding up, hey, we are riding up, come on, going up, going up, come on, going up. Put your hands together, hey, going up, come on, going up, hey, going up, I'm going up to the sky, to fly so high, to sustain and sustain all stargates. Yeah, I'm going up. Oh, we are going up. Put your hands together, 'cause I'm not going up. I'm not going up. Hey, going up, going up. Come on, going up. Hey, going up, going up, going up. In a school, going up. Hey, in a work, going up. In a life, going up. In a job, going up. In a home, going up. We are going up, going up. In the schools, I'm going up by Angel the Great. Thank you for listening, and thank you everybody for listening. Steve Tech. Thank you. I'm going up.
Awesome, 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 awesome musical performance by NG the Great. Thank you so much, NG the Great. We are so blessed to have you with us. I don't know, what do we have next on the menu? I believe we're preparing to close, right?
Amazing. We have the vote of thanks by Coletta. So can you take it away and do the vote of thanks, Coletta?
Coletta, over to you, Coletta.
Different kinds of expectations and because of the progress, it's also difficult as well. To me, I understand the situation because coming from what happens globally.
Hear you, colleague. We are talking. We can't hear.
Or to have some levels of
Okay, I think we've lost her. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. We'd like to also thank, in a special way, our guest speakers, Kelly Sims and Dr. Uguamaka Chukwu. We thank Ebu Kanari, our guest artist, for the music therapy. We also like to thank NG the Great. Please do well to follow them on social media. They are all tagged on our Instagram post, and also engage and follow all our posts. Thank you for joining us. So the full video will also be on our YouTube page. It's currently live streamed, so you can access it. You don't need to ask for the recording, but the slides will be sent to everybody. If you drop your email, if you don't have your email, drop your email with Coletta FACEYOUTH, or you drop it with any of the means, my FACEYOUTH Africa, or if you choose, you can do it publicly if you don't mind your email being in the public domain. Yeah, and we'll send you the slides and then have your questions answered. I'm sure Coletta has taken notes of all the questions. We are going to ensure that they are answered. We'll send you the response either via email or on your WhatsApp. Apologies for the technical glitches. It's very much unlikely, unlike Dr. Chukwu, but you can't predict the internet in Nigeria. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you join us again for the next edition of the FACEYOUTH Monthly Mental Health Awareness and Stigma Reduction Seminar on the 21st of May, 2022. Please invite your friend. If you feel impacted, impact others, share so that we'll have more people. We'll have it live at the center. I will be there. So it's going to be like a party. It's also my birthday month. So we'll get entertainers, we'll have the children. So bring your children to the center. We have a children play area where we'll keep them busy while the seminar is going on. Thank you so much, everyone, once more for joining us. Please follow us on social media, engage with our posts, like, share, and comment. We really appreciate you all, and we don't take the support for granted. God bless you all, and have a very good evening. Bye.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, FACEYOUTH CEO. As we prepare to close this session, I just want you to have this at the back of your mind, that the first stage of treatment for any problem is to acknowledge it, then speak about it, because a problem shared is already half solved. It was in fact Fred Rogers that says that anything that is human is mentionable, and anything that is mentionable can also be manageable. God bless you real good. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now. From FACEYOUTH, thank you for the opportunity. Goodbye.
There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying. Oh, when it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can't go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere will soon change. We all a part.